Okay. Whew. Well, hey guys, it's Christian. So by the time you've seen this video come out, it's probably been a month or two, but you've read the title. I'm no longer in my band. So for as long as I can remember, I dreamt of being in a successful rock band, but somewhere along that journey, things have changed. What started out as an adventure into the unknown became a commute of familiarity. But let's take some time to talk about the story of me and my adventures in Texas with my rock band. It was 2015, and 18-year-old me just graduated out of high school, packing his bags because the very next day he was moving to Texas. Obviously, I was devastated. I had to leave Vietnam, the place where all my friends were, the place where my childhood home was. I was leaving all of that behind on a journey into the new world. I remember crying for most of the flight there, fully knowing I might not ever see any of the friends I grew up with ever again. Even though I was scared to make new friends and meet new people, I was full of hope. I was on a mission to form the world's greatest rock band. However, that would be much harder than I ever thought imaginable. Firstly, I was on a scholarship for engineering at university. My parents were very excited, but I wasn't. I know this sounds spoiled, but the parental pressure put on me from generations before really split me in the middle. Do I become an engineer and follow the path my father always wanted? Or do I forge my own path, neglecting my family's wishes? Secondly, I was moving to a completely different country. Even though I spoke English, I didn't understand the culture and how to make friends with the people there. Besides forming the ultimate rock band, how will I even talk to people? Those two things weighed on me heavily. And I spent the 2 months leading up to my first semester in university with those thoughts pulling me apart. My family was very excited for me to be an engineer. On the outside, I was excited too. But on the inside, I didn't know what I really wanted. Even though I did not want to tell myself, I already knew what I wanted to do. The first week of uni was quite a new experience for me. I met a bunch of kids my age, but I did not really know how to make friends with them. It was like I was dropped in a whole new environment and nobody taught me what to do. They all liked American football and sports, and I knew nothing about that at all. One in classes with all my engineering students, I was the odd one out. Firstly, I was the only kid with different goals than them. And secondly, I was the only Asian kid there. I don't really like to bring up race, but that was a big factor for me at the time. Desperate to make friends and meet other Asian people, I signed up to join the Asian Association at my school. For some reason, you had to apply. I don't really know why, but I did. During my interview, they asked me a whole bunch of questions on why I would be a good fit. I don't really remember what I said, but I do remember saying that I grew up in Vietnam and I could speak Vietnamese and Chinese. So I think it would be a good fit. But for some reason, I was not accepted because I wasn't cultural enough. Strange, considering I grew up in Asia, but maybe that was for the best. Looking back, that's so stupid. Looking back, I wouldn't want to make friends because of race. I would want to make friends based off music. It was after that meeting with the Asian Association, I knew that school wasn't for me. I was going to pursue my dreams of becoming a rock star. College was just a hunting ground for me to find band members. I can't remember too much about meeting my band members, but I will try and recollect the best I can here. I remember I was walking around the music school with my guitar. I remember showing a senior student my dragon guitar, and he thought it was super cool. He played it a little bit, and I was super intimidated because I was thinking about what to say after he was done. He was also the first black guy I ever talked to. But I don't remember much of the interaction. But little did I know, he would become my best friend for life and the drummer of my band. My school would host open mic nights, and I would frequent them looking for members for my band. It was there where I formed what I thought in my eyes was the ultimate band. I remember meeting the singer there. At the time, I wanted to form a band just like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was looking for a singer who could not only sing, but could also rap. One person's performance left me awestruck. He sang one song and rapped the next. At that moment, I knew he had to be in my rock band. After the show was over, I went up to him and asked if he liked the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And he said, "Yeah, that's my favorite band, yo." Something like that. We then immediately played Give It Away on the sidewalk, and I knew we would gel together perfectly. So, there you had it. I found my drummer Will and my singer Chris. I was ready to take the world by storm with my ultimate band. Save the other players for later. We got this. At the time, I thought with this core, we are definitely going to become famous. We named our band Colors because we had an Asian, a black, and a Hispanic guy. Will and I would jam basically every night. It would be some of my fondest memories. I actually have a few recordings of them. They aren't that good, but in the moment they were. When we would just jam together, it was a high, and this high was so hard to describe. It felt like we were one with each other and reading each other's notes and emotions perfectly. It was like we were part of a bigger musical entity, and we were just there in the moment. I know this sounds incredibly gay, but it is amazing when you just find someone who understands you musically. He was basically the Flea to my John Frusciante. It could be any instrument, drums, guitar, bass, but whenever we were together, music would just flow. Sometimes Chris would join in on the jams as well, but being honest, it's a bit hard to hear him over our drums and guitar because we were so loud. Sorry, Chris, if you're watching this. Will and I still love you. Anyway, after a few months of jamming, we booked our first show. It was our college's talent show. I'll leave a link somewhere up here for you to watch it if you're interested. Looking back, we sucked. But at the time, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Then it was a snowball effect. We started playing more and more shows in bars around DFW, and it was honestly some of the best times ever. I can't remember exactly how we found our other two final band members, but we found Jackson, our bass player, and Aaron, our keyboard player, along the way. Once we solidified our lineup, the five of us essentially played shows every weekend. I loved practicing with the band and playing shows all the time. I felt like the rock star I always wanted to be. I had a passion for music. I would sell tickets to our shows like crazy. But most importantly, I had the belief that we would make it. We were songwriting beasts. Some of my favorite songs were written from this time. I thought all of our songs were amazing and that it just had that chemistry. It only took maybe like a week to write a good song, and each song felt so fleshed out at the time. So Killer was our first ever song, and I'll link it around here. If you haven't figured out by now, my grades were suffering. I got mostly B's and C's during my first semester of school. I actually failed a few classes as well. Needless to say, my parents were pissed. In their mind, music or passions were a distraction. They took away my guitars and said I can get it back once I got my grades up. Did I study to improve my grades? No. I saved and bought up a cheap guitar to continue on with my band. Nothing was going to stop me. I actually learned how to pick locks in order to steal my guitars back from my parents when they weren't home. I then kept them in my bandmate's apartment for safekeeping. So, I had one more semester of jamming, writing, and playing shows. Needless to say, it was a blast. I had a band and friends with the same mindset. I finally felt like I had a sense of family like never before. For once in my life, it felt like I could be myself and that I was around people who actually believed in me. Now, this may sound negative towards my actual family, but it's not. Asian parents view passions as something secondary, and that reputation, or you can call it face, as something more important. If I get a reputable job and make good money, then I can achieve my dreams. They will support me as much as they can in order for me to achieve that goal. But for 18-year-old me, I didn't understand that and appreciate them for that. Anyway, back to the story. Needless to say, my grades were not very good in my second semester. I passed my classes, but B's and C's did not fly for my parents. I obviously was not going to keep my scholarship as well. My father was chewing me out, and then something inside me snapped. Chapter 3, Freedom. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself in front of my dad, and I told him what I wanted. I basically said that I'm going to do what I want, and I was going to pursue my career in music. I did not care what he thought, and I was actually going to do something that I wanted to do for once. I don't remember much of exactly I said, but I remember my father actually standing down. I thought there was going to be a big argument, but maybe he saw the fire in my eyes. The next day, I moved out of my parents and moved in with one of my bandmates. So, now I was free. I lived with Jackson and his dad. Granted, it wasn't the best living conditions, but at least I was living the dream. I slept on the floor in Jackson's room. The first order of business was to start making money, since I no longer had parents helping me out, since I dropped out. I got a job as a math tutor for rich, spoiled kids in the afternoon. Then I would practice with the band at night. I remember working my ass off in both my job and in band practice. Honestly, I don't think if I will ever work that hard ever again in my life. I worked this hard because I had a dream and I was passionate enough to fulfill it. Life continued this way for the next few months. I would basically couch surf from bandmates to bandmates' place and work part-time jobs to make enough money to survive. We played shows every weekend and I was living the life. I may have been working hard, but I was not dissuaded by the lifestyle. My passion was fueling me full time. I know the term hard work is very relative, but let me take a moment to describe my lifestyle at this time. I didn't have a car or a license, so I essentially had to bike everywhere I went. I would wake up at 4 a.m. and bike 5 miles to my first part-time job. It was a gym front desk job and teaching fitness classes from 5 a.m. to noon. Then I would bike back home and have a little break from 12:30 to 2. Then I would bike 5 more miles to my next part-time job, teaching math from 3 to 7. Then I would bike home and have band practice from 8 to 11 p.m. Then I would go to bed around midnight and repeat the process. I was essentially biking 20 miles a day and being up from 4 a.m. to midnight. But the band was my life, and that is how I saw myself living in order to achieve my dreams. Chapter 4. It has been around 2 to 3 years at this point, and I was burning myself out on both ends. Also, even though we were still practicing and playing shows, the momentum has slowed down. Also, our drummer and my best friend Will left the band. Needless to say, my passion for this band started to dwindle down. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to have my own apartment and nicer things. I was tired of living with my bandmates in a messy apartment. My other bandmates also got full-time jobs, and Jackson and I were stuck living paycheck to paycheck for a band that might go under any time. I also started to develop more interests. I started getting into fitness and working out, and I even attempted a world record. Guitar was becoming more of a hobby for me and less of a passion. For me, I always struggled with identity. Maybe it was growing up with a narcissistic father, but I never felt like myself, and I always wanted to please others. The band became less and less of a passion for many reasons. For one, the whole group seemed to have less passion than before. New weekly songs became monthly songs, then they became quarterly songs. Weekly shows became quarterly shows. Besides me, Chris, and Aaron, our bass players and drummers became a constant rotation of new people. We lost our mojo, and I started to get infuriated with the band. I actually took a 1-year hiatus from music at the time to focus on working in the fitness industry. Chapter 5. Somewhere along the way, I rejoined my band. I forgot how, but I remember that I did. Being honest, it was more of the same sludge. But something changed. We got a new bass player. Many of you may know him as Nathan. Nathan has always been around in the music scene for other bands. He actually was there at our first ever live show in DFW with another band. And he actually played drums for us at one point. But he had issues with drugs and had to go away for rehab for his addictions. But when he came out of rehab, something changed. He sort of became the new anchor for the band. I wouldn't call him the leader, but we started writing again and playing shows again. And we actually were having a good time. However, Nathan kept a secret from us. He was suffering from cancer and secretly going through chemotherapy. Once we heard the news, I felt like we had to help him somehow. We did in the only way we could. We played a charity show for him. This was our first show that I ever self-organized, and it was actually one of our biggest shows. I remember around 200 people being there, and we were able to raise around $5,000 for his chemotherapy. A few months later, he was cancer-free. With Nathan's cancer cured, we went back to writing and playing more shows again. I actually believed that we could be a band again. We started planning for a music video shoot, and this could be our big break. However, Nathan's cancer came back. He kept it a secret from us until around 8 weeks from his death. He told us that his cancer is back, and he decided not to redo chemotherapy. He told us that he wants to finish recording the album and film a music video. So, we stepped it up a gear and recorded and finished everything for the music video. Sadly, he passed away 4 days before the date of the music video. I remember hearing him speak before he passed. It was just a bunch of nonsensical ramble. It was the saddest thing to ever hear from him. We ended up recording the music video in his honor. Chapter 5.5. The end of this band is closely tied to Nathan. After his passing, we decided to play a show in his honor. We recruited a new drummer and bass player, and we played a great show. However, since he passed, music and the band did not feel the same anymore. I may have started playing guitar and learned how to love music again, but just being in a band where all I could think about is Nathan was not good for my mental health. Besides Nathan passing, I was having family issues at home. My father was causing major family issues, even though he'll never admit it, and I was struggling with identity issues. To make a long story short, I left my job of 7 years. I worked at a gym for 7 years, and I ended up actually buying that gym off the former business owner. And the stresses of me being a business owner was too much, and I sold it off. So I was lost. The stresses of Nathan, family, and my job was just too much for me to handle, and I needed an out. I don't want to talk about it, but I did some pretty regrettable things. Chapter 6, Present Day. After recovering from my spiral, I rejoined with the band. We played one more amazing show, and I loved it. However, I knew my time in the band was up. The other members have a goal of becoming famous rock stars, and I don't really want to anymore. All I want to do is settle down, start a family, and just make music. I don't want to go on tour and live that lifestyle. I just want to live a humbler life and make music. I talked about this with the band, and it went better than expected. They all honored my decision, and I honestly thought it would be a lot worse. But maybe the writing was on the wall. Right now, I'm working with them to finish recording all of our songs, but needless to say, I am out of low-key colors. We played one more final show as a last hurrah. We invited a small group of people, and that will be one of my favorite shows I'll ever play. I'll link it somewhere here as well. Chapter 7. Being in a band has given me so many lessons, not just in music, but also in life. If I wasn't in a band, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Here are some of the most valuable things being in a band has taught me. Number 1, stand up for yourself. Before I was in this band, I never stood up for myself. I always bended to my father's will. However, the band and passion for music gave me the determination to stand up for myself. It also allowed me to step out of my shell and try to achieve greatness, not just in music, but also in life. Number 2, choose friends based off interests and not race. This may be strange for some, but I grew up in Vietnam where essentially all my friends were Asian. When I moved to America, there were so many different races. Luckily for me, I was shunned by the Asian community in school. This allowed me to actually make friends who had the same interests as me, not just skin color. Number 3, working in a group. Remember in school when you got those group projects and one person just carries? That doesn't work in a band. When it came to writing songs, we all had to pull our weight. Without this band, I wouldn't really know how to work as a team. Number 4, be yourself. I tried to become this cool new person once I moved to America, but luckily that didn't happen. The band showed me that you can be yourself and be accepted for that. Chapter 8. Well, I'm out of the band, so what's next? Will I quit guitar? Will I still make videos? Well, I will still play and make videos on YouTube. I want to make music for me and not for anybody else. I want to enjoy music and not see it as a chore like I did in the band. Our first song we wrote as a band is Soul Killer. It is a story of how the band split ways, and how the people who committed became famous, and the people who quit became nobodies, the Soul Killers. However, 10 years later, I realized that being a soul killer isn't so bad. Sometimes the rockstar's life isn't for everyone. I want to end with this. I call this song Soul Kill, a parody of Soul Killer. I'll see you in the next one. Whew, that was a long speech. Sorry about that. No more. Sorry, I know it's gonna take some time. Hey man, it's been too long. Lived and I'm back again. Lived and I'm back again. It's been years since way back when we lived in the open air, dangerous as a bear. You sit in the glowing lights. You're putting the 9 to 5, putting the 9 to 5. Settle down and you made a home. You say it's alright to be just living physically. But how can you live like that? 'Cause it feels like a soul killer. Feels like a soul killer. Oh, that I sit and I hear you talk. 'Cause it feels like a soul killer. The way's a soul killer, yeah. And how can you live like that? Hey man, it's been 10 years. So many memories trying to live our dreams. Sad to say it's gone away. Those days were super gay, yes, in a happy way. Oh, we tried so hard, wanting to live our dreams, living creatively. Oh, now I realize it's okay to be part of society. And yes, I can live this way. I am the soul killer, I am the soul killer, yeah. And when I sit and I'll hear you talk, tell me all your dreams of what you could be. And I will live this way, oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.